I have a little bit of news. I am starting an interview series. Well, pretty sure I'm going to experimentally make at least a few of these interview videos. And so I'd like to call for people to be interviewed. And if you're interested in being interviewed or just like following this, then I'm just going to ramble on a bit about how I want to do this. So the purpose of the series is, well, to interview people, but it isn't really their lives and their businesses that are the focus. It's more their thoughts, their ideas, their inner lives. The main purpose is to explore and probe ideas, in other words, which I take to include not just abstract philosophy, but also the ideas behind planned and operational systems of various kinds, and interests and hobbies and so forth. I'm mainly motivated by a desire to learn from others. I have spent a fair bit of time in the last few years watching videos of people being interviewed, actually, on or who are simply rambling on to themselves, like I'm doing right now, on YouTube. And yeah, so I know there's a lot that I don't perfectly understand in this world, right? And I'd like to learn more. I don't know, again, if I'm going to follow through. It all depends on how much fun it is, really, for me. Frankly, that's really what it comes down to. Also depends on whether I get many viewers. I guess it's going to be more fun if I know I'm talking to more people. Since I'm not very pretty to look at, and I'm not very cool, I suspect I won't get very many viewers, because I understand this social media stuff is a popularity contest, and to a certain extent that depends on beauty and cool, and all I have to offer is ideas. So we'll see. As to the nature of the series, I want to do deep dives through conversation. I don't want to just interview people. I want to record a conversation. I draw a distinction, right, in which I probe and clarify ideas. I don't have necessarily a big long set of questions I want to answer, or I want answered. I'll have some topics that I want to get at, and explore the details, plans, and how systems work. Sort of a Socratic inquiry. My approach is focused on getting my interlocutors to clarify their ideas, including ideas they've acted on, in a way that's both maximally clear and defensible. So I don't want the interviews to be easy. They're not going to be full of softball questions and open-ended questions in which someone can just ramble on about in the way that he usually does, or she usually does. The questions I will ask will frequently be critical in the broadest sense, not nasty or hostile. That I'm going to try to be friendly, of course, but formulated in a way to push hard on ideas, to chisel away. And sometimes that actually does come across as nasty to people, which is a shame, I think. Right. But, that's how philosophers are, and I am still a philosopher. So as a result, I think some people might be embarrassed if I ask a question they can't answer, and they attempt to bullshit their way through their answer, and I don't readily accept their bullshit. And the way that some interviewers will. I mean, sometimes I myself have probably given some bullshit answers, and people didn't call me on it, which I won't say it disappoints me, but it would have made for a more interesting conversation. And I can handle it. So the question is, can you handle it? All right. And then finally, let me talk a little bit about the topics that I have in mind for this series. So the general theme of the topics is things that interest me, things that I know something about. So this would include, at present, blockchains, encyclopedias, obviously, a good third or maybe half of the videos that I make will be on those topics related to work concerns, basically as research for what I'm up to. Knowledge, the nature of knowledge, the value of knowledge, philosophy in general. Social media, I want to interview a lot of people who work in social media who are developing alternative social media spaces, and want to talk about decentralizing social media, which is a hobby horse of mine, which I'm going to be talking a lot about in the next 2 or 3 months. Free speech, another hobby horse of mine. Privacy, ditto again. As of about 3 or 4 months ago, I've been on a big privacy kick and trying to implement the technologies of privacy, and even pushing Everpedia a little bit more in that direction. Let's see, early education. I'm a proponent of teaching babies to read. It just sounds bizarre to people. I'd love to talk to somebody who is skeptical of that idea and try to convince them, just have an interesting conversation with them about that. Free and open source software, right? Something I've been interested in for going on 20 years. Homeschooling. I homeschool my 2 boys, and they're making great progress, and I'd love to, compare methods and share notes and so forth on that. Maybe Irish traditional music. I still play that almost every day. Get out the old fiddle and try to keep up my skills. I don't know if I can talk very much about it though, so we'll see. Ethics and life hacks. That's a perennial interest of mine, going back to my teenage years. AI, especially strong AI, fascinating to me actually, what it would mean. Libertarianism. So yes, I've never hidden the fact that I'm a libertarian, and I'd love to talk to people about different aspects of politics in general. The liberal arts and higher education. The purpose of higher education, where it's going, how we can get through it without having to pay $60,000 a year or whatever, and also without being indoctrinated and so forth. And then finally, I'd like to talk to people who know about things that are connected to some neat ideas of mine for internet projects. So I'm not going to get into the details, but I've got a lot of ideas. I've too many ideas and not nearly enough time to implement them all. So yep, if you want to chat sometime, then by all means get in touch. So I think it's going to be fun.